Peacemaker Season 2 is introducing a new character, Sasha Bordeaux. But who is she, and why is she such an exciting addition to the DCU? From her comic book origins to her potential role alongside Peacemaker, I'm breaking down why she could be one of the most important new characters in James Gunn's DCU. By the end of this video, you'll know her backstory, her connections to Batman, and how she might shake up Peacemaker's world. I'm Phil from DC Chronicle, and if you're hyped for Peacemaker like I am, and the DCU, hit subscribe and let's jump in. Now, there's so much hype around Season 2 of Peacemaker, how it's going to work, how Peacemaker and the 11th Street Kids are going to enter the world of the DCU and set up this universe going forward. Season 1, I think, was a success. I ended up loving it after initially not being sure. There's a great cast of characters here, and I'm looking forward to the new additions, but especially Sasha Bordeaux, who will be played by Sol Rodriguez, and whose addition I find extremely intriguing. Because she's not a mainstream DC character, and we know James Gunn does an amazing job with lesser known characters, I'm excited to see what Sasha can bring to the table here. I'm also intrigued because of some of her connections to other DC characters. It's easy to see how she could fit into this universe. She's been romantically linked with Mr. Terrific, has been a right-hand man of Maxwell Lord, and has been a major part of Checkmate, which could then place her with none other than Amanda Waller. And that's before we even get into her most well-known connection, Batman. Let's dive into Sasha's background, where she's come from, why she's an interesting addition, and where she could go in the DCU moving forward. So Sasha Bordeaux was introduced in Detective Comics number 751. And as per her description on the DC Fandom Wiki, she was hired initially as Bruce Wayne's bodyguard. She was hired by Lucius Fox, Wayne Enterprises' second in command, and this was against Bruce's wishes. So Bruce at first tries to avoid her, but she keeps doing her job. She eventually becomes suspicious and discovers that Bruce Wayne is secretly Batman. For a time, Sasha Bordeaux did not reveal her knowledge until they have an encounter with the Mad Hatter, and then Batman learned that she knew his secret identity. And knowing he couldn't fire her because she knew his identity, Batman trained her to be his apprentice. And after 30 days of intense training, she was fit enough to go out with him on patrol in a suit, although he still treated her like a total stranger, both as Batman and as Bruce Wayne. During this time, she fell in love with him, even as he insisted on having her around whilst he dated other women. One night, whilst Batman and Sasha Bordeaux were out on patrol, the assassin David Cain lured Bruce Wayne's girlfriend at the time, Vesper Fairchild, to Wayne Manor, and he killed her in a way that framed both Bruce Wayne and Sasha Bordeaux. They were charged with murder. Sasha refused to exonerate herself by giving up Bruce Wayne's secret. They were then arraigned and held without bail, awaiting trial. After a while, Batman escaped to leave his alter ego behind, leaving Sasha Bordeaux inside Blackgate Prison. Batman eventually confronted the people that framed him, and Bruce Wayne and Sasha Bordeaux were cleared of all those charges. Whilst in prison in custody, Sasha was severely wounded by another prisoner. She would have died had the government agency Checkmate not given her medical treatment. They ended up faking her death and offering to give her a new name and a new identity, complete with plastic surgery, as long as she agreed to work for them. And with Sasha having no other options, she agreed. Batman searched for Sasha. He didn't believe that she had actually died in prison, like everyone said. To facilitate this, he disrupted all of Checkmate's operations in Gotham City. They organised a meeting between the two, where Bruce Wayne confessed that he actually loved Sasha as well. Sasha told him that actually he has to let her go. Then Sasha rose through the ranks of Checkmate before becoming the right hand to Maxwell Lord, the group's leader at the time. Maxwell Lord hijacked the Brother Eye satellite that Batman had created to monitor all superhuman activity. Brother Eye itself had recently become sentient due to the actions of Alexander Luthor Jr. as part of his plans for the Infinite Crisis. He'd also created an army of cyborgs known as OMACs, programmed to hunt and kill all superhumans and all specific targets. During his rule, Maxwell Lord killed everyone who opposed him, assisted by Brother Eye, who monitored for rebellious activities. Sasha feigned loyalty to stay alive, but broke this when Maxwell Lord killed her former ally Blue Beetle and Sasha was given the job of disposing of his body. She stole the goggles and sent them to Batman as part of a message detailing Lord's madness. When Brother Rai revealed Sasha's betrayal, he sent out an OMAC squad. They only partly succeeded. Maxwell Lord discovered he couldn't get anything out of Sasha, so she's resistant to telepathy. Maxwell Lord then brainwashed Superman to attempt to kill Batman. To stop this, Wonder Woman snapped Maxwell Lord's neck in what is quite a famous comic book scene right now. Following that, Sasha Bordeaux was made the Black Queen of a reformed Checkmate organisation. She was proactive and cold-blooded, which put her into conflict with other high-ranking members like Alan Scott, Fire, and Mr. Terrific, which, as I mentioned before, she ends up becoming romantically involved with. And the violent side of her persona eventually subsided. She was captured and tortured by Jiangsu, who wanted to learn more about her cybernetic implants. Although she survived this encounter, she had to regain her confidence, especially when the healing process resulted in even more of her body becoming cybernetic. Sasha intervened in the trial of Wonder Woman after she was put on trial for murdering Maxwell Lord, snapping his neck, by secretly delivering evidence to Wonder Woman's lawyer Kate Spencer that exonerated her. She then continued to serve as the Black Queen until Final Crisis, where by using her connection to Brother Eye, she sacrificed her consciousness in a desperate attempt to reactivate Brother Eye and the OMACs under Checkmate's control to help against Darkseid's forces. She remained in a coma for a while. She eventually resigned from Checkmate not long after that. So what all this means then is she could take on a very interesting role in the DCU. But what role should she play? If you've got any thoughts, let me know down below. From the little that we have seen, from the trailers and the set photos, we know initially her role in Peacemaker Season 2 will be working with Argus alongside Rick Flag Sr. This is extremely interesting to me because if we assume she's following her comic origins, she would have already been with Batman and trained by Batman at this point and moved on to her Argus role and potentially also Checkmate. So it's possible we could see her reference Bruce or Batman in the show. We've seen loose references to Batman in Peacemaker Season 1, so I do think that could certainly happen. Then her connections to both Amanda Waller and Max Lord could make for some kind of twist where she maybe appears to be on Flag's side, maybe they have a romantic connection. We've seen that Rick Flag has a weakness there from Creature Commandos, but then ultimately she plays Flag and betrays him, reports back to Amanda Waller or Maxwell Lord, having been given some other kind of covert operation by one of those two. There's definitely a couple of scenarios where she could end up stabbing Rick Flag Sr. in the back. We've also seen from her background she can switch allegiances, so it would be possible that she could start the season on the side of Argus and Rick Flag, but ultimately turn and help out Peacemaker and the 11th Street Kids. This could be possible as the season progresses and she learns a bit more. She learns that both Peacemaker and Rick Flag are not who she initially thought they were. But we don't know what Sasha's motivations are, and in the end she could solely be out for her own gain. She might want to move up in Argus, be more associated with Amanda Waller, and get more control within that organisation. Which, you know, there's nothing wrong with looking out for number one. And that's even before we kind of get into the Lex Luthor of it all. I've said in previous videos, I wouldn't be surprised if Lex ends up being a bit of a puppet master when it comes to government agencies. And we know he does get sent to Belle Reve at the end of Superman, and he is heavily rumoured to cameo in this season of Peacemaker. Could Lex have secret agents, including Sasha, on his side already? How do you think Sasha's role will play out in Peacemaker Season 2? Drop a comment below. Sasha's future in the DCU, there's a lot of long-term potential for Sasha Bordeaux, and she could have a bright future in the DCU. The Brave and the Bold is still coming. I think we can kind of put to rest now that it's not going to be Pattinson, but it's going to be a new Batman in the DCU. Will Sasha appear in The Brave and the Bold? We know that movie features Damian Wayne, and so Bruce's relationship with Talia should be explored. Will any of his old flames show up as well? Sasha could come in and throw a spanner in the works maybe, especially if her and Bruce are rivals at this stage. I do think the more intriguing option though is putting her with Amanda Waller and having her be a bigger part of Checkmate. I'm hoping we do build out Amanda Waller's corner of the DCU a bit more as we go forward, and Sasha Bordeaux could play a big role in that. Having someone who is a master at espionage and a spy in this kind of world of superheroes and villains could be very interesting. Plus, depending on what happens to Rick Flag Sr., she could take on that sort of role working with Creature Commandos, or even the Suicide Squad moving forward. Either way, I do think she's a perfect fit for this DCU. She's a morally grey spy character. It'll fit this season so well. Depending on the size of her role, she could really be one of the breakout characters of this season, adding a bit of diversity and a bit of depth to Argus, Checkmate, 11th Street Kids, or wherever she ends up. So we've covered Sasha's origins, her ties to Batman, and how she could shape Peacemaker's story. Now I want to know what you think. Do you want to see Sasha become a bigger player in the DCU? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more Peacemaker content, check out more videos, my trailer reaction. It's linked on the screen right now.